Why silence gives you the advantage. There is one single skill that instantly makes you look more intelligent, more in control, and more confident than 99% of the people you know. It isn't a new piece of technology, it isn't a fancy suit, and it certainly isn't the ability to speak faster. In fact, most people are absolutely terrified of this skill. I'm talking about something you already do every single day, but you've been doing it wrong because you've been taught to fear it. Have you ever hit the send button on an email and felt that instant cold wave of regret? Or maybe you've been in a conversation where your mouth was running a marathon while your brain was still back at the starting line? We've all been there, saying 10 words more than we need to, and then spending the next hour wishing we could just hit the undo button on our own life. It's funny until it isn't. Once you start paying attention, this shows up the same way every time. Silence isn't awkward by accident. It's powerful in predictable ways. Pattern number 1, talking fast is acting fast. Most people talk the exact same way they react to a sudden surprise. Too quickly, too emotionally, and too filtered. We treat conversation like a survival situation. When there's a gap in the air, we feel a primal urge to rush in and fill it before the other person can, or before we have to sit with a tiny bit of social discomfort. But almost every regretful comment, every awkward overshare, and every unnecessary fight starts with speed. Speed is the enemy of intent. When you speak at the speed of your emotions, you aren't choosing your words, you're just venting them. Silence is the pattern breaker. I want you to think of a pause before speaking like the conversational version of a seatbelt. When you're in a difficult or high-stakes conversation, your impulse wants to slam on the gas. A pause doesn't stop the movement of the moment, it just keeps you and everyone else safe from the whiplash of a reactive comment. If you can control the speed of your speech, you can control the quality of your outcomes. Pattern number 2, silence as a high-status signal. There is a deep psychological reason why the quietest, most observant person in the room often comes across as the most intelligent. It's because silence is a high-status signal. In human nature, frantic talking is often a sign of nervousness or uncertainty. When we're nervous, we word vomit to try and gain approval or to explain ourselves into safety. Silence, however, signals composure, awareness, and most importantly, control. It tells the world that you aren't desperate for validation and that you aren't afraid of the void. People who speak slowly, simply, and intentionally have a natural grounded authority. They don't bury their points under a mountain of filler words, and they don't accidentally reveal their own insecurities just to keep the noise going. You don't have to try to look confident. Silence does the heavy lifting for you. It creates an aura of maturity and presence that a rush of words can never replicate. Pattern number 3, preventing the gasoline effect. Let's be honest, a huge percentage of the drama in our lives starts because we said 10 words more than we needed to. I call this the gasoline effect. You have a small fire, a simple misunderstanding, or a minor disagreement. Instead of letting it burn out, you start explaining. You explain and you defend and you elaborate, and suddenly you've talked right past the point of clarity and into the point of no return. You've poured gasoline on a candle. Silence is your primary protection against this. It protects you from over-explaining a simple point that was already understood. It protects you from defending yourself against accusations that don't even deserve a response. Most importantly, it keeps you from responding emotionally when someone is trying to bait you into a fight. Every word you say is a piece of data you're handing to the other person. If the situation is heated, silence ensures that you aren't handing them more fuel to keep the fire going. Pattern number 4, creating space for strategy. Talking fills space, but silence creates it. And in that space is exactly where your best decisions live. We talked in a previous video about the consequence pipeline, and silence is the physical manifestation of that pause phase. I want you to use a simple mental sequence: impulse, silence, decide, speak. Most people are still speaking while they are in the impulse phase. They're still feeling the sting or the excitement, and their mouth is already moving. Silence allows you to move into the decision phase before a single sound leaves your lips. You get to run the math. You get to ask, is what I'm about to say worth the cost? It isn't awkward to take 3 seconds to think. It's genuinely strategic. It shows that you value your own words enough to make sure they are the right ones. Pattern number 5, breaking the obligation trap. Here is a truth that will free you instantly, though it might feel rude at first. You are not required to respond to everything. Most people talk because they feel a social obligation to fill the gap. We feel like we owe an answer to every question, every comment, every text, or every emotional dump someone throws at us. But that obligation is a trap. If someone asks a prying question, you don't have to answer. If someone makes a provocative comment, you don't have to defend yourself. Silence is a boundary in sound form. It tells the other person, and more importantly, it tells you, that you are the owner of your energy. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Choosing not to respond isn't losing. It's refusing to play a game that has a negative return. Pattern number 6, privacy is your hidden currency. Oversharing often feels good in the moment. It feels like letting off steam or building a quick connection. But in the physics of life, oversharing always comes with a hidden tax. When you give away too much information too fast, people form opinions based on a moment. They misunderstand your context, or they even use your words against you later when the relationship shifts. Intentional silence keeps your life yours. It allows you to decide what people know, what stays private, and what is sacred. In a world that is addicted to digital exploitation and living out loud, your privacy is a powerful asset. It gives you a sense of cleanliness and mystery. You become much harder to manipulate when people don't have a map of all your insecurities and past mistakes. Silence isn't about hiding. It's about protecting your most valuable currency. Pattern number 7, the interrogator's advantage. Here is one of the most effective truths in human nature. When you stay silent, other people talk. And when people talk, they reveal everything. Humans are naturally uncomfortable with silence. If you stay quiet and maintain eye contact, the other person will almost always feel a desperate need to fill the void. In that rush to fill the silence, they reveal their intentions, their integrity, their insecurities, and their motives. They will literally talk themselves into a corner or reveal a lie just to stop the discomfort of the quiet. You will always learn more by listening quietly than you will by speaking loudly. Silence is the ultimate information gathering tool. It lets you see the red flags we talked about earlier while they're still in the forecast stage. Pattern number 8, shielding against reactivity. Most of the heavy consequences we survive aren't caused by us being evil. They're caused by us being reactive. Silence is the ultimate shield against that reactivity. It protects you from the snapping comment, the sarcasm that ruins a friendship, or the panic response that makes you look guilty when you're actually just stressed. When you master silence, it's not that you don't have something to say, it's that you are consciously choosing when, how, and if you say it. This is the very definition of strength. It's the difference between being an open faucet that anyone can turn on and being a controlled flow that you direct toward the outcomes you actually want. Silence protects future you from having to apologize for present you's lack of a filter. Pattern number 9, wisdom versus withdrawal. I want to be very clear. Silence is not withdrawal. It isn't the passive-aggressive silent treatment, which is just another form of reactive drama. Silence doesn't mean you're ignoring people or bottling things up. It means you are choosing. You are choosing to think before you speak. You are choosing to protect your peace. You are choosing your moment, your tone, and your direction. It is an intentional, active step towards clarity. People who withdraw are usually hiding because they're overwhelmed. People who use intentional silence are standing their ground because they're prepared. It is the move of a person who understands the physics of cause and effect and refuses to put out a bad cause into the world. So here is your new standard, the simple, no-nonsense rule to live by for the next week. If speaking genuinely helps the situation, then speak. If speaking complicates things or adds noise, pause. If speaking exposes your private life unnecessarily, stay silent. Your mouth doesn't have to be an open faucet, constantly dripping out words that you'll have to mop up later. You have the ability to control the flow. Most people are afraid of silence because they think it means losing control. But the real power move, the strategic reality, is realizing that silence is the one thing that gives you all the control back. I've put together a companion PDF in the description below to help you practice this pause and silence skill in your everyday life. It will help you identify those moments where you are most likely to over-explain and give you a way out. My name is Kelly, and I will see you in the next one.